After getting ignored by Batman and the rest of the League when trying to tell them about Maxwell Lord's evil plans to kill all heroes, Blue Beetle would continue investigating till he finds himself in the old Justice League base where he confronts Max, ultimately leaving him with no choice but to put a bullet in his head. And so later when Bruce informs the heroes of his death, Booster Gold was so enraged that he literally would have killed Batman if it wasn't for Clark stepping in. Michael leaves disappointed and decides that he'll travel back in time to bring Ted back to life, but then a guy called Rip Hunter tries to explain to him that that's just not possible. However, when Michael insisted on doing it, Hunter basically tells him that before he can do that, he needs to save the woman Ted loved, Batgirl. So he sends him back in time to essentially save Batgirl from getting shot by the Joker like she originally did, only to end up failing over and over again until Rip Hunter eventually pulled him back and explained that this moment is solidified in time, meaning there's nothing he can do to change it, and that he only put him through this to teach him that the same goes for Ted's death. This absolutely broke Booster Gold as he left stating that all he ever wanted was to save his best friend. However, he ends up traveling back in time anyways and takes the bullet for Ted with his goggles, ultimately saving him, but as Hunter told him, it won't last long. As when the two learn that this change ultimately altered the timeline, causing the death of multiple Justice Leaguers at the hands of Maxwell, Ted goes ahead and returns to the timeline where he dies, essentially accepting his fate and undoing what Michael changed, which finally leads us to Ted's funeral where Michael shows up last and walks by with hatred in his heart. He sits down to listen to their speeches, with Batman obviously being as quiet as he should, and when it was his turn, he stood up with a million things to say. But in his typical fashion, he came up empty and didn't say a single word, but then later, Batman, the last person he wanted to hear from, decided to call him in. He shows up frustrated and lets it all out, to which Bruce simply responds by throwing pictures of him trying to save Batgirl, stating that he saw how hard Michael tried to save Barbara and therefore just wants to let him know that he's always here if he ever needs somebody to talk to.